So I want to say something about how this class gets organized, and every semester it's a little bit different, and I never really know where it's going to go until we kind of see what's in the news, and I mostly don't plan class until the day of class, and a lot of it depends on what happens the previous class, but then I need a few days to kind of sit with it, and then we might continue with the theme, or we might go in a different direction. A few semesters ago, the first 4 classes, 3 of them we spent talking about Asian Americans and Asians. About 5 years ago, of the first 5 classes, it just seemed like 3 of them we were talking about Latino and Hispanic issues. I just never know where it's going to go. So understand that that's just how we roll. And every semester it's a little bit different, and it kind of needs to be that way because in part it just depends on what's really happening, and in terms of how we want things to unroll in here. And that's the way you want it, right? It's how we want to be. So with that in mind, I do want to pick up today on last class, on some things that we were talking about at the end, because it just seemed to me that would be a really good idea. And the kind of the theme of the class today is that these things do matter to some people. And I think about just the question of hair, because we're going to go back to hair. I don't mean matter that it just matters to people personally or philosophically or just in terms of their own personal preference or something. No, it actually matters in terms of kind of life position and destiny. And there are a lot of things in the world that we don't understand, not because we're not walking in someone else's shoes, but because we've just never explored the issues. So, my guess, for example, is when we talk about something like racism or discrimination or prejudice or race inequality, let's just look at discrimination. Most of us in this room have never done a thorough examination of it. And I don't mean that colloquial conversation we have with our friends or our families or whatever. I mean like a thorough examination of how much is happening, to whom it's happening, how it plays out, how these things unroll in life in a way that's really science-based, not just someone's opinion or not just something that's kind of out there, but really science-based. And in other words, what's really happening? Because every time that someone makes a claim toward discrimination, that just because they're making a claim, it doesn't matter how loud they're speaking or how adamant they are that some kind of discrimination or racism occurred, it doesn't mean that it actually happened. And so part of a class like this is to explore with thoughtfulness some of the context in which we want to be talking, okay? So this past summer, these 2 headlines popped up for me, and I kind of wrote them down. And because in a class like this, I'm very much a generalist, right? I don't know a lot about any one particular thing, but I know a little bit about lots and lots of things, right? So I know a little bit about hair and the biology of hair and the sociology of hair. And and I looked at this and I thought, it's kind of interesting. I know what's behind a lot of this, but I was just asking myself, I wonder what other Americans who are not connected to this issue are thinking about these 2 laws, right? Oh my God, 2 more laws on the books? Do we need is this really worthy of a law? Do we need to, is it worthy of that? Is this really a big issue? Why are we still talking about this? Aren't we maybe we're just making it a bigger issue than it is, and maybe we should just back off a little bit, and then these things wouldn't be a problem, and why a law, and why this? Meanwhile, and I'm assuming that that's probably how many, if not most, Americans are thinking, including black and brown, a large number of black and brown Americans. And so what actually I want to say is, I'll come back to this later in the semester, but I'm actually, I generally wouldn't talk about my personal politics in here or something, but I'll just put it out to you so you have a sense of, so you see more of the complexities of things, right? Because I don't want you to think that you can predict or understand what I'm going to think or say, but it is important that you understand a couple things. I'm actually a registered libertarian, and libertarians are those really extreme right-wing, they're not really right-wingers, but we're really conservative in the best of possible ways. Not in the Republican Party conservative, but in the conservative way of like, hey, what we want is less people telling us what to do and how to live our lives, smaller government wherever that's possible, but not everywhere. Like, you don't have to be like a lunatic, like we don't need government at all. Are you kidding me? But you want to kind of keep it small. You want to give people as much freedom as they possibly can have, right? So there are limits to that, right? So I've been like pro drug decriminalization pretty much. Hey, wait, hang on. Lauren, can you come just check the attendance sheet out down here and fix it? By the way, I'm going to pause really fast right here, that section. So remember, there's an attendance sheet for this section, for that section, for this one, that one. There's 6 of them. I think that one got moved over to the other side. The dude in the front. Can you just check? Yeah, it doesn't go there. Can you? Okay, so are we good? All right, man.
If you have the attendance sheet, can you please put it in the air?
Yeah. Where's the attendance sheet for this section? Is that it? Okay, we good? Okay. And that one's good? Okay, good. All right, man. So listen, man. Here's what's up. My inclination is that I just think it's better if people have more freedom than less freedom, right? So I've been for drug decriminalization my entire life. I support. I think prostitution, everything that you can imagine, suicide, euthanasia, whatever. People should have a right. If people want to sell their bodies for sex, then sell your bodies for sex, man. But like, I understand there is a thing called sexual slavery. There are all these parts of prostitution that are problematic, but you got to watch that. You got to deal with it. Make sure that women or men are not exploited. Drug decriminalization. You got to watch it. There are things that happen, but like I just live in that world, right? I happen to think that so just smaller government is kind of a good thing. Okay, so when I look at that, I'm the person who says, oh my God, another law? Do we need another law? You know what I mean? In this case, I'm the person who studies this stuff and I'm like, yeah, I get where that's from. I get it. I see it. And I know that if most Americans understood what was going on, they probably would say, yeah, it's probably a pretty good idea to have these laws in the books. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay? Cool? But you need to understand, like, for example, I didn't vote for Obama. I had 2 chances. I did not vote for Obama. So you're going to think, oh, here's Sam teaches Social 119. He voted for Obama. No, I didn't vote for Trump, please, or Clinton or anybody, but of those folks. But nonetheless, you understand, right? So I'm very complex in the way I see things. So the reason I'm telling you that is because I want you to remain really open-minded to what I'm saying and not thinking that I have an agenda here that I'm pushing. I want you to think critically on your own terms, because that's what this is about. Okay, so we got these laws. We're gonna ban discrimination. Oh my gosh! All right, so first, let's start here. Let's go back. Let's step to the voice that says, "Oh man, people are always complaining. They want something." Look, everybody conforms. You have to conform. So we're going to have these laws banning discrimination against people who wear a certain kind of hair. Well, whatever, wear a certain kind of hair. Like, that's like maybe the corporate hair. And wear it. Because you got to conform. We're always conform. I'm conforming right now. I'm not wearing a dress, right? And I could, but I don't really want to kind of deal with the pushback. By the way, I had a former student. I was a bridesmaid in her wedding years ago. And I wanted to wear a dress because I thought, like, come on, man, if I'm a bridesmaid, I get to wear a dress. But she wouldn't let me. And, yeah.
You're always the bride, or you're always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Exactly. Exactly. Just my life. Okay. Look, you're always conform. So it's just part of life. You want to be part of the business community in the United States. You be part of the business community and conform. If you don't want to conform, you suffer the consequences, right? When I left for grad school, my mentor pulled me aside and said, Sam, I was 25 years old. He pulls me aside. He says, listen, as you move forward in your professional career, people are going to judge you because of your earrings. And it's a tough profession out here. You may want to just take them out. And I said, yeah, that's cool, thanks. And I took them out for about 3 months, and I put them back in. And I know, and I had long hair for long, I know that because I refused to conform in some ways, I know it has impacted my life, and I've accepted that. I accept it. And they're choices for me. Like, it's not like it's all things that I could have done differently. I could have cut my hair. I could have not worn earrings. I could have not had the beard that I have. I could have worn different clothes back in the day. I could have made choices, and I could have fit right in. I'm a white guy. I'm working class. There are some environments where I didn't fit in very well. I had to learn. I've sat down at tables with millionaires and billionaires, and I had to look around going, man, how do I act in this place, right? I met queens, and I remember when I met the Queen of Qatar, because I did some work for her, and I'm like, how do I act in front of the Queen of Qatar? How do you act in front of a queen? I mean, my God, she was like floating, and I'm thinking, whoa, all right. So, but they're all choices that I made, by and large. And so, like, all right, I deal with that, the consequences. So, like, I kind of lead, so I lean there. Everybody, if you want to play the game, you got to conform at some level. Okay? So, we're going to start right in that spot. Now, take a look at these two headlines. Also from last fall. So, black girl sent home from school over hair extensions. This, by the way, was a black charter school. And they just said, nah, you're not wearing black hair extensions here. And she said, hey, and her family, but she wants to, and it's part of her culture, and it's who she is. And they're like, it's part of our culture, and you're not wearing them. This is school policy. And we wrote the policy, and we get the culture thing. It's a black charter school. So, I don't have I'm just like, yeah, whatever. You can't wear hair extensions there. What am I going to, whatever, right? You got it. Don't go to that school. Go to a different school, right? So, this one, white girl sent home from school for dyeing her hair too red. I'm like, yeah, another school policy. Remember, I'm a libertarian, so I want less policies, actually. I think a lot of these policies are silly on the part of schools. Probably most of them, actually, but they're all the do-gooders out there who, I don't know, whatever, they're trying to control other people's behavior, whatever it is, what it is. And so either follow it or don't, but deal with the consequences. Don't dye your hair. She was able to dye it red, but not so red. So I don't have a lot of sympathy, you know what I mean? I'm just like, whatever, don't dye your hair so red. Stop, right? If you want to push the man, then be prepared for the pushback from the man. That's how things roll here. Okay, good? You see, is that okay? So now, let's go here. Let's talk about hair for a second. This guy on the left, that's Bill Miller. He's a pretty well-known Native American singer-songwriter. He's been in this class, sat right in here, talked, sang songs. His hair is really important. For indigenous Americans, hair is really important. Hair is sacred. When people cut off their hair, they don't just cut off their hair, go to the barber and cut it off. It's ceremonial. So for indigenous peoples in the Americans, for most tribes, there are many, obviously, tribes in the U.S., but in a Native American cosmology, hair as a body part needs to be, not even disposed, needs to be given back to Mother Earth in a sacred way. We come from the earth, we go back to the earth. So when hair is cut off, it goes back to the earth. For him, his hair is really important. So someone comes along and says, hey, you can't perform in this venue because you have long hair. And you say, well, just cut it off. And then you say, well, hang on a second. Hang on. This isn't like the little girl who's just dyeing her hair red. This is part of his deep spiritual heritage. This was his land, by the way. This was his people's land. This is red land. Europeans came over. We brought Africans over, forced Africans over. We did lots of things very much against their will. So Africans, people of African ancestry, in a way you get a little bit of a pass on this, a little bit. But if you're a homeowner, you took your land, you bought your home and your land from the white man, from the Europeans who stole it from Native Americans. At what point are you in this game also? You know what I mean? At what point are your deeds problematic? But this is his people's land. And then these other people come over, my ancestors come over, and they say, we start telling him what to do with his hair. We don't care that your hair is sacred. We like, here's what it is, right? It's like, no, hang on a second. No. So maybe there's a little bit of protection in some way, right? The guy, this young man right here, this just came out in the news. He's the young man from Texas who just got expelled from his high school because of his locks. And they're saying he's not going to be able to graduate from his high school because he refuses to cut his locks. He's from Trinidad. How many of you saw this come across the news feed in the past few days, right? So the story is he's from Trinidad, and his locks are really important to his culture. Now look, I don't know if are they really important to his culture? Or maybe he just likes the locks. They're really cool. Or maybe it's a deep cultural, spiritual part of him and his family. But I'm not the one to judge that. But the point is, it's like, well, so you get together, you school board, you whoever, and you just come up with this rule about hair. It has to be above, can't be hanging down below the eyebrows, and it can't be above the collar. It has to be this, it has to be that. It's like, well, hang on a minute. Do you have Native Americans in your boys in your school? Do you have people from the Caribbean for whom hair and locks and long hair in this way is actually part of a tradition? And if you do, then all right, well, then think about it. Because maybe it's not for your people, and all you people who are creating the rules. And remember, the same people whose ancestors stole the land in the first place from Bill Miller's people. So you got to be like, oh, okay. And I'm not saying you're wrong. There's nothing in what I'm saying here is like, okay, all these people are wrong, and they should be allowed to do whatever they want with their hair under any circumstances just because. It's like, no. I'm not saying that. I'm just throwing stuff out there so we can think about it in some kind of a way. All right? So listen, man. And how about the guy in the upper right? So he's sick. Hey, is he still here? Did he leave? Is there anybody in class who's sick? Are you sick? Do you want to come up for us? Can you come up for a second? So, I used to be the advisor for the sick. Sometimes we call it Seek, but what's your name?
I'm Noor.
Your?
Noor.
Noor?
Yeah.
Here, you can sit here if you want. So can you tell us about his hair?
Yeah, so he is wearing a turban.
But it's called, you call it a dastar? Right?
Yeah, you can call it that. It's also called a bug.
Uh-huh.
So basically under that he has like long hair. So that's sort of the tradition in Sikhism, is to keep your hair long and to never cut your hair.
And it could be really long, right? Like for older men, it can go down.
It honestly just depends on the person.
Yeah. At some point, hair kind of stops growing, but
Right,
what's the spiritual idea? Do you know Sikhism, right? It's what, like, the sixth largest institute. By the way, see, I wear a kata.
Oh yes, nice.
You have a kata?
Yeah.
Awesome. See,
I'm
check
actually
it out.
oh nice. I'm actually the president of the Sikh Student Association.
I
this
used to
year,
be the
so-
faculty advisor.
Really?
Yeah, I had to resign because I just got too busy. But so tell us more. Okay, so what's the purpose behind not cutting hair?
It's a little complicated. The way I think about
Make it
it,
really simple.
Yeah. I guess the way I think about it is like you're kind of like letting your hair be like never be cut so that you can keep yourself the way that God made you. That's kind of how I think about
And
it.
the dastar or the turban, do you know why they first started wearing turbans?
I'm not quite sure, but honestly, like back in the day, the Sikhs were being oppressed by the Mughals, and they were, being forced to convert and things like that. So they kind of were forced to militarize, and so they kept their hair in the turban, just to make.
So here,
things-
I'll give you a couple of things that are actually really cool. And this
Yeah.
is the biggest reason why I wear the kata. I was at a temple, a couple different trips that I made in India, and the second one I finally said, I gotta wear a kata. I just have to. It's like the closest to a philosophy that I can adopt of any religion. So the idea is, first off, if you grow your hair really long, because it's how God created you. So if you grow really long, you're gonna have to do something with it. So put it in some kind of a wrap.
Correct.
And turbans were historically only for the elite in Indian society, right? So only the really, really wealthy and elite wore them. So it was also a really nice way to say, because in Sikhism, there's no inequality whatsoever. Everyone is equal. All beings are equal. You're equal to an ant. I'm equal to a fly or a mosquito. Everyone and everything is equal, which is just it's so beautiful, right? So the idea was this actually forces us to reconcile that the poorest of the poor who identify as Sikhs actually can be expected to be treated as the richest of the rich.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
What about you?
What
Are you
about
supposed
me?
to grow your hair long?
Yes. I've never cut my hair, so some women also like to wear a turban. It looks a little bit different, but some women still do wear the turban as well.
Do you know this woman?
No, I do not.
So she's actually British, and she has this ovary condition, and it causes her to grow excessive body hair. But because she was baptized, she wanted to be baptized, and she said her parents didn't want her to be baptized. She's from the UK because they said because then you won't be able to cut your hair, and look at all this facial hair you have. And she said, "That's okay, I'll deal with it. I don't care." So that's her. Talk about body positive. Yo, man, talk about being body positive. You're just like, this is the way God created me. This is the way I will show myself to the world. Yo, how many of us could do that? That's how God created you. Go for it. What an awesome, that's just so awesome. So what about like shaving your legs and things like that? Because technically you shouldn't shave your legs, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Honestly, most women still do shave their legs because of like conformity and things like that. So like, I've only met a few women who don't shave. So like today it's kind of the norm to like shave your legs and stuff like that.
Hey, what do you think about her though?
That's great. Honestly, I wish I had like the courage to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, is that not awesome? Those of you who believe in God and who want to give your life up to God, that, my friends, is giving your life up to God. Yes. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm rocking, man.
I just wanted to know, like, I know you guys don't cut your hair, so like, what if your hair grows and like you're like need to trim your ends? Are you allowed to trim your ends or no?
No. Again, like some people do trim their hair, but you're not supposed to.
Okay. I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Thanks.
So if you're baptized,
Correct. Yeah.
and that's when you would put the kata on.
Yes. So some people are baptized, and so they are sort of acknowledging that they are ready to do these things. Like they're ready to not shave. They're ready to follow all the rules of the religion and stuff.
Yo, awesome. Thanks. It's hard. It would be hard to not shave your, like in this culture, right? So there's just a lot of pressure on you to,
Yeah.
tweeze your eyebrows and shave your all that. I can imagine that would be really hard.
Yeah.
But so when you see even men increasingly, we're seeing sick men who are trimming their beards.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at some of these dudes who have really long beards and stuff, right? It's pretty cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks. Noor, right?
And this isn't a problem just in the United States. This is a comment we got on the YouTube channel where someone in South Africa couldn't work in a lab because of their hair. Wow. So, right on the stream, we have experiences like that in another country.
Yeah, so it's real. Well, let's go to that. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for bringing that up, and thanks for contributing that. So here's one for us. Dude, that's just awesome. Talk about strength. If I had a quarter of her strength. Okay, so here's a couple more headlines. Japanese girl sues school for forcing her to dye her hair black. So she's mixed at some level, and her hair is more naturally brown. And the school, this is in Japan, the school is insisting, look, everybody here has to have black hair. You can't dye it blue, can't dye it red, you can't do anything with it, can't dye it gray, it's got to be black. And her hair is naturally brown. It's not like your hair is not naturally blue, your hair is not naturally pink. It's like her hair is naturally brown, and they're saying you, in order to go to the school, and every school, any school in the region, you're going to have to dye your hair black. How's that? You know what I mean? Like, hang on a second. Or this popped up on the screen. Black news anchor fired after wearing unprofessional natural hair. And I'm like, yo, excuse me? And here she is, Brittany Noble. This was her hair. It was fine when she wore her hair like this. But at some point in time, she said, you know what? I'm just tired of the straighteners. I'm tired of the chemicals. I'm tired of going through all this stuff. I just actually want to kind of wear my hair naturally. The way my hair has been growing out of the heads of my ancestors for hundreds, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. How many generations? I want to wear my hair like that. And someone comes along and said, no, you can't do that. Now we're in a different position. So last night, I just fired a quick note off to Brittany. And I said, hey, can you feel like popping into my class today? Because I'm going to have you up on the screen. It'd be really nice if you could tell your story and say a few things to class. And so she graciously agreed to do that. And do we have... Brittany, do you have...
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, we don't have any video. Is that okay?
That's okay. And
no,
it's up to you.
If you can turn your video on. Oh, yeah, it's bad. Yeah, there you are. What's up? All right. And now we see you.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, here you
so
are.
Nervous.
This is Social 18 class. Yeah, that's the Black Twitter section right there. There we are. Everybody else. But in the meantime, now that we see you, you can turn your video off and we'll just talk. Okay, wait, hang on. Okay, turn your video off if you can, and then we'll go from there. Can we do it? All right, how about that? Can you hear me now? Ooh, come on, man. Brittany, do you want to call back?
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah, okay,
now?
we're good. Yep. So tell us your story.
Wow. I guess in short, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. My grandmother was a sharecropper. My mom kind of moved around with her in Missouri until they finally got to North St. Louis City. I'm the oldest grandchild in my family, the first one in my family to earn a college degree. And I went to a small historically black college and university, HBCU is what we call it. It was in Alcorn State University in Mississippi. It's about an hour away from Jackson. And so I graduated in 2009. The market had just crashed. Could not find a job. Actually went and started working on my master's at Arkansas State University, in a really small town in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Figured if I couldn't break myself into Newton to do it, and so I pushed and pushed and pushed and fought. Finally got hired as an, and then that's my foot in the door. And then Jackson, Tennessee, where I was on TV for the first time. I moved on to Flint, Michigan, where I was an anchor in my hometown, which was in St. Louis, Missouri. So here I am working in my hometown. It was a dream come true for sure. But I could not get on that anchor desk. That would be what everybody else would see as a close center of attention. You know, here I am in my hometown, having put in all this work in my career, trying to prove myself as a reporter, to prove myself that I deserve. And August 9th, a kid named Mike Brown, 19 years old, was shot and killed by a police officer in my Ferguson neighborhood. And I called myself to work. I started reporting the story, and it became a national news story. And I caught hell in my newsroom for it. And, you know, here I am trying to do the right thing as reporting, but this story that everybody wasn't too happy to be reporting in Mississippi, and finding that in St. Louis, we're dealing with officer-involved shootings. And y'all, I'm the daughter of the law. Like, my father served in the Army, a deputy, my mom, highest-ranking black female police officer ever in the city of St. Louis. So I'm the daughter of the law. But then when I got down to Mississippi and started reporting as the morning anchor for WJTV, the CBS station, I was learning that, you know, while we were dealing with officer-involved shootings in St. Louis, we're dealing with lynchings, like straight up lynchings in Mississippi. And so these are stories that I'm pushing. I'm pushing to tell these stories about race and, you know, in the South. And I kept, you know, running into roadblocks. And I was pregnant. You know, now I'm not sure if I'm having a boy or a girl. And I'm like, how am I going to teach my kids to love their hair? And I don't even love my own. You know, here I am wearing extensions and paying so much money to look like everybody else. And I'm not everybody else. You know, I remember being in St. Louis and being like, why don't my bosses in St. Louis like me? Like, I've never been the ugly girl. And finally, my friend was like, you're not the ugly girl, Brittany, you're the black girl. This is what makes you different. You know, one of my older reporters in the newsroom was like, you know, did you think your roots were blonde? I'm like, yeah, just a little bit. Like, I guess I kind of did. She's like, no, girl, you are black. You know, and so when I was in Jackson, Mississippi, thinking about all that I've gone through, and now I have a girl, you know, I'm more concerned about the kids there and kids that are watching me. You know, how do they feel about what am I doing to be like, what kind of professional hairstyle can I put in my hair that's a little black? And when I stopped straightening my hair, the easiest thing I could do was put in those two little braids, because I never even understood hair. I've been straightening my hair since I was a little. I remember using my mom.
Call her on your phone. Yeah. So listen. So the idea. So here, this is what's really interesting in her case. So let me just go back on a couple things. Yeah, I can't. See, this is the. By the way, those of you who think the United States is the greatest country in the world.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're still here.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're still here. Yep.
Oh, sorry about that. I think there was another call coming through.
Okay.
So what I was saying was I started straightening my hair without chemicals when I was in kindergarten. And I remember like their hair bounces like this in a ponytail and my hair doesn't do that. Like, why doesn't my hair look like their hair? I went to a predominantly white school. And so my mom, I remember the day that she put the chemicals in my hair. We were going to a wedding that night and she looked in the back at me and in my hair in the car. And she's like, I'm putting a relaxer in your hair today. Like, I can't deal with it. I'm the darkest one in my family. My dad's family is from Jamaica. My mom's family, I believe, we have some Indian in us. I mean, you can just see it in our hair. Everybody is very, very light skinned and their hair is a little bit, it's not as coarse, I would say, as mine. And for me, my mom was like, I don't know how to do your hair. And so, fast forward to being on TV, going through these extra lengths to keep my hair straight. I've been wearing my hair straight for so long. And it just came to a point in Jackson where I'm like, you know what am I doing? And so I asked my boss if I could stop straightening my hair. He agreed. And then about a month later, as I was trying to fish a news story, he was like, you know, it's going to end up me wearing a baseball cap to the grocery store. Viewers in Mississippi need to see a beauty queen. And asked me to straighten my hair back. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to say on social media? Everybody's been following this change. And he said, tell them, I've been asked to change my hair back to the way it was because that's what looks best. And so for me, it didn't even hit home. Like I've been in the industry for so long. I'm like, okay, I know it's about appearance. Let me look the part and let me keep doing what I'm doing so I can report. And it wasn't until my story began hitting the news that I really began to see like, it wasn't okay for him to tell me that. It wasn't okay for him to tell me that. But in that moment, I didn't feel that. I will say that I kept working for that boss, dealing with a lot of other stuff with my pregnancy, being a mom, being a Black mom. And finally, I did complain to my corporation, which is one of the largest media organizations across the country. They own TV stations in almost every state. And, I did reach out to them. They kept saying that the boss didn't do it. I'm like, I told you I had recordings. I told you from the beginning I had recordings. And they finally took my recordings after like a 2-month investigation. And the boss was gone the next day, the next morning. They won't link it to me. However, that was early in my contract there. And what most people don't know is that I dealt with discrimination, retaliation. I dealt with retaliation from that point on through the rest of my career until I couldn't, and for the rest of my time there until I couldn't take it anymore. And I filed a complaint with the EEOC. The EEOC investigated, and long story short, they did give me the right to sue. And so I have until February 13th to file the case, hopefully in federal court if I get the funds right. So that's where I am.
Whoa. Yeah, that's a really intense story. The bottom line is, here you're being asked to you're not allowed to present yourself as you naturally are in the world, as though somehow you could or should, or being asked to change your DNA in order to be more palatable or more presentable to an audience.
And so for me as the morning anchor, I'm thinking, if you can't get past my look, no wonder you're not telling the stories about my community. Yeah. If you can't get past my look, like no wonder we don't have more people that look like me on TV. Yeah. Exactly. If you can't get past my look, no wonder we're coming into these problems in the newsroom. And so for me, it was just so much bigger than that.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, that's actually a really nice place to cut. That's cool. Thanks for saying that. If we can't get past your looks, you in your natural hair, who you are, then where are we in terms of our relationships? Hey, Brittany, thanks. Thanks for visiting class.
No problem.
And I'll send you a thank you text. All right. Thanks, Brittany.
Bye.
All right.
You're welcome.
Hey, so here, let me show you a couple things here. Let me just walk you through here. When I'm talking about DNA, let me walk you through a couple things. So, you know who Oprah Winfrey is? right? Y'all know. Everyone know who Oprah Winfrey is? You've heard of her, right? So she had this guy working with her, a stylist. And in the early 90s, he came up with this classification system for hair. And one, obviously, is really straight hair. His classification system did actually not include 4C, by the way. All of folks who say, like, oh, yeah, I'm 4C. And it's like, well, the very first one didn't include that. And notice, so here's straight. And see just how it goes. And note that we talk, the colloquial way to talk about what we identify as black hair is kinky hair, but it's actually really more coiled. And actually, the 4B hair, very few people have 4B hair. It's either tightly coiled, fairly tightly coiled, or really tightly coiled. Notice it's not kinked. So if you say it's not curly, so when we talk about hair or kind of black hair, it's really coiled hair. That's like what most people would have is more coiled. Okay? So this is the DNA, my friends. Do you know why it's coiled? Does anyone have any idea? Who has 4C hair, by the way? Who has an afro? Who lets their hair? No, but who right now is wearing a fro? Anybody? Any guys? Anybody with a big fro? Damn. Dude, you know what? I'm gonna go with you because it's. Can I just use your hair? It's gonna be hard to reach you, man. You cool? All right. So listen, man. Do you have any idea? Has anyone ever told you like?
Nah, I'm half white.
Wait, hang on.
I'm half white, so
Dude,
I don't know.
You might be halfway, but your hair is all black, my friend.
Yeah. Nah, it's definitely not a tight spiral. Like, it's not tight. Because I'm like, when I wake up in the morning, half it's like on one side, like this.
Yeah.
Half it's like on one side. It doesn't really get like nappy like a lot of people's, so.
What do you mean nappy?
Like, my hair doesn't it stays like this. It doesn't it doesn't tangle at all, nothing like that.
So we mentioned this the other day. They were saying like when white people hop out of the shower, how long does it take your hair to dry?
It takes a long time. Yeah, it takes a long time for it to dry, like 30, 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. So the longer it is, the longer it's going to take.
Yeah,
do you know
sure.
why? So do you know why 4C hair? Do you know why it is like it is?
No clue.
So, anyone have an idea? Like what's like the purpose? Because there's a biological purpose. There's not a biological purpose for everything, but very often for many things there are. Some stuff is just genetic mutation. You know, that there's a mutation happens, the mutation takes control, it just kind of wins the day, and then before you know it, there's a whole subpopulation with that particular mutation, right? Bro, do you have an idea, bro? Hang on, just stay right here. All right.
It's because it's porous, so it loses water much more easily and dries out. So if it's curled up, it retains water better.
And why is that? Like, why would that be a good thing?
Because if the hair dries out too much and loses too much moisture, it'll die and
the hair will die.
Become brittle.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but then why? But then why do we need hair?
To
Because we don't
protect
care
our
if it
scalp.
dies. What's that?
To protect our scalp
Well, from what?
from the environment, from damaging.
Sun.
Yeah.
And then why would that be a problem?
Why would the sun be?
Yeah, like why is the sun a problem? Like, see, you got to keep going. Like, what's the purpose?
It can damage DNA.
Damage DNA. Okay, what else?
Because it damages DNA, it can cause cancers, skin cancers.
Yeah. Okay, and it can just overheat the brain. It's right, dude. What's your name?
It's kind of hard. Parab.
Parag.
Close. Parab. Like
Parab.
Rob with the P in front.
Yeah, where are you from? Where's
New Jersey.
New Jersey? That's what I thought when I heard Parab. All right, thanks, man. Dude, so here's the other idea, right? You ready? If the longer, so Nicholas?
Yeah, Nick.
Nick?
Yeah.
So if you look at Nick and you look at me and the sun's coming down on us, right? The sun's really hitting my scalp. So not only can it get into my scalp and damage it and cause sunburn, damage the DNA, and the ultraviolet rays from the sun are problematic, right? But also the sun hits my scalp and it gets really hot. The sun doesn't hit yours. Can I touch your hair, bro?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sweating. Like, it's hot. I don't know how you do this.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, dude, you know, you are wearing a jacket that's meant for sub-zero temperatures.
I was cooling, but like now I'm sweating. Like,
all right, you also might be nervous. All right, listen, man. So when the sun doesn't hit his scalp. The sun hits out here, and the larger his fro, the farther out the sun hits. And so you don't want the sun, dude. The one thing that will kill human beings very quickly is heating up our brains. And like back in the day, people aren't wearing hats. You know, nobody's wearing their Penn State hat, whatever. You don't have that, so you don't have protection. And so you want the best possible protection is tightly kinked or coiled hair that creates this buffer from the heat of the sun. Not only that, but it retains moisture, so he's holding this moisture in his hair that's going to keep him cool throughout the day. So there are two really cool things that are happening right there. And whereas I'm not going to have that. And so there's a real benefit for tightly coiled hair. If, for example, bro, it's like if you have 4C hair and you're like, yeah, man, I don't like my 4C hair. You are only here. Your DNA only survived, right? Because you have 4C, your ancestors had 4C hair. It's like skin. There are certain physical features that we have that allowed certain population types to thrive in certain environments. So in your sense, it's like it's a really good thing, right? So now we tell Brittany, like, hey, you have to change your hair. What's Nick have to do? Change 50,000 years of his ancestry and straighten his hair in order to what? Get a job? Be in school? Be whatever? Why should he do that? You know what I mean? Like, what's that about? So, that would be like, bro, can you stand up really fast? Like saying that, what's your name?
Reed.
Oh, Reed. Reed again.
Yeah.
All right, man. So listen, man, that's the equivalent of telling these two guys, like, Reed, look, you can't get this job, or you can't be a newscaster, or you can't whatever, if you don't get tan. Because you're just like really way too white. You need to tan up. And Nick, you're going to have to start using skin whitening cream because you got to lighten up a little bit. So somewhere between the two of you, that's where you all need to be. So by telling Brittany, dude, you got to wear your hair straight, put all the chemicals in it, straighten it out. We need to look a particular way on film is the same thing as telling Reed, unless you go to a tanning booth once a week and get a certain shade of brown. And Nick, unless you use enough skin whitener cream that it lightens your skin to a certain degree that's palatable to our television audience, we're not going to actually hire you and keep you employed. And would anybody say that that's okay? Like, nobody would say that's okay. Well, why would it be okay for anyone to tell Brittany that she has to change her hairstyle? So this is what matters. Dude, thanks, dog. Thanks, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yo, thank you, man. Thanks for loaning us your hair. Yo, do you... So now we're going to go back to the laws. Oh, we got a law in the book now that says, hey, you can't discriminate against people who are wearing their natural hair. It's really not different than discriminating against people who are wearing their natural skin pigmentation. It's not different, right? And so I might say, like, well, you could say, well, Brittany, why don't you just go get another job? So don't be a newscaster. Well, what if, let's go with whoever right here, right? You have to dye your hair. You have to change your skin tone. You have to wear heels because you're just like you're a little too short, so you got to be a certain size. Like, what is it? Like, how far do we go where people can just tell other people how and what they should be? And so this is what we're talking about. It may not affect me, but maybe it only doesn't affect. Maybe I don't really understand what's going on, and so if I think about it, then maybe I'll see some things a little bit differently. All right, man. Let's go with. Hey, that's cool, right? You see that? This is all evolution here. This is just the process. Hey, can I say something else? Here's just a basic little tiny thing. Whatever you are, whatever kind of hair you have, that's the hair that allowed your ancestors to thrive. And if they didn't have that hair, you wouldn't be here. So when you look in a mirror and you kind of see different features that you have, same with your eyes, same with your nose, same with lots of things, it's like just accept it. It's cool. It's all good. But easier said than done. Hey, I need two. Can I get two? I need just 2 volunteers. Can be anybody. Now you came up before, bro. Did you come up? You didn't come up before? All right. And I need somebody else, man. Okay, you? Yeah. All right, bro. Ready? Here's what I want. What's your name?
I'm Riley.
Riley?
Nice to meet you.
Dude, what's your name?
I'm Caleb.
What is it?
I'm Caleb.
Caleb, meet Riley. Riley, Caleb. So, Caleb, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick out the whitest person in class. All right? And Riley, I want you to pick out the darkest person in class. Person with the darkest skin pigmentation.
Can we walk around?
The whitest? Yeah, you got to walk around, dude. Yo, don't be trying to hide, man. It's just skin. Dude, that's the guy? Hold on, man. He's not the whitest guy. Come on, dude. I mean, maybe he is. He might be the whitest white. That guy's whiter than he is. Dude. Wait, who do you got? Wait, you haven't gone. You gotta like. Yo, can you help? Wait, hang on.
I think I found him.
How is it? You think you got him? Oh, dude, yeah, I'm blinded by the light. Dude, bro, hang on. Did you know she was going to pick you?
Kind of.
You're not the darkest person in the room.
Yeah, I know, but it's okay.
Dude. You pick the darkest person in the room. No, we'll just use you. Come on, man. How was that, by the way? Wait, what are you sorry? Wait, hang on. What are you sorry for?
You said I picked the wrong person.
No, all right. No, you're good. Okay. You did well. How was that picking the darkest person in the room, by the way? Speaking the mic.
I was kind of nervous
About?
picking the wrong person, which you said I did.
How do you, what, well, how, okay, but, no, you did fine. He's pretty, bro, what's your name? Musa. Oh, yeah, you're Musa. Oh, Musa's back up. All right, man. How is it, though, like, because, that's kind of a thing, Were you okay?
I'm good, yeah.
Yeah? All right, dude. And do you consider yourself pretty white?
Yeah,
Wait, hang on. Right now?
Yeah, like during the winter.
Yeah, what's your name?
Michael.
Michael? What's your ancestry?
Polish.
Oh, oh, dude. Come on. Are you kidding me? Totally. Dude, you nailed it. We got a it's got to be a Polak, you know what I mean? So we're good. All right, so listen, thanks. You can sit down. We're going to rock. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, you can sit down. Bro, you can sit down. We're good. Thanks, man. All right. So listen, man, here's what I want to do. You guys. So you're just up here because I wanted to do this piece. Once again, there are all these ways in which these things. Dude, how is it being picked out as the darkest person in the room, by the way?
The darker the berry, the sweeter it is.
Wait. What did you say?
The darker the berry, the sweeter it is.
Dude, you heard what he said, right? So, my friend, are you bitter about that, by the way? That was a dad joke, my friends, but all right. The darker, the sweeter. Okay, so listen, man. Gentlemen. No, seriously, how is it for you?
I mean, I don't really care, honestly, because I'm comfortable in my own skin.
Cool.
So I'll be chilling.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How is it for you?
Well, I mean, it's, I didn't think I was that pale, so.
Dude, I can hardly tell where your shirt ends and your skin begins.
I know.
Just saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, but is pale is that a bad thing, or is that?
I mean, not really. Like normally, like during the summer, like I'm outside, almost the entire day. Like I'm a sailing coach, so I'm outside for 12 hours. So this is not really normally me.
Dude, if you were outside in the sun for 12 hours, what would you look like? Your jacket?
Yes.
You'd be so black, you'd be blue, probably, right? Seriously, would you be? Dude, hang on. Dude. All right, hang on, man. God. Hey, by the way, part of what's going on here is we just have a lot of conversations. You know, there's a way in which one thing that's really important for this class is to make it okay to talk about these things, right? All the stuff that we're not supposed to talk about, you really need to talk about. It's okay, right? You can talk about, why you see a sick man wearing a turban. Again, we often say Sikh, but the way people pronounce it, hey, don't stand up against the wall because it changes the lights. We will say Sikhs, but it's Sikh. So it's like do we talk about, like, hey, when you're wearing it, what is it? But anyway, I want to show you this. So some of these things really matter, okay? So here's a study how the things like skin tone make an impression on us or affect our lives or impact our lives in ways that we don't necessarily see. And Musa won't necessarily see or even understand all the ways in which his skin pigmentation affects his life. And what's your name again, bro?
Michael.
Michael won't fully understand the way his skin pigmentation affects his life, just like me. Like I talked about, I know that it's impacted me that made a choice to wear earrings, I made a choice to have long hair, and so on. But one thing I didn't make a choice about was having light skin and being a man and being a certain height and all these other things that really have also influenced my life, and often in ways that I don't see and won't see and can't see because they were happening in things. I was getting certain benefits or certain doors opening for me that I didn't even know about, right? Because they opened, and I didn't know they opened for me because I'm Sam, the white guy, as opposed to Sam who has skin pigmentation the same or has the same skin pigmentation as Musa. Because my life probably would be different. No, it definitely would be different, and different things would have happened to me along the way. Okay? Different interactions maybe I had with the police that would have been all sorts of stuff, right? So this is the way it goes. But anyway, I want to walk you through a study that these folks did. And they showed we can actually do it right now. So if people in the front of the class, you just look down, don't look up. Look down. Everyone in the whole front section, just look down. Just don't look at the screen. You can look up, but close your eyes. Don't look at the screen. People in the back, look at the screen and take a look. Just take a look at this. Okay? Got it? Look at the face. Okay, we good? Can you blacken? And okay, so people in the back, put your head down. People in the front, look up at the screen. And people at the back, don't look. And the people in the front, okay, look at that. Look at the face. Okay, blacken it. Go to the next one. Okay, everybody. Are you ready? Now, find that face. So check this out. So, which one do you think it is? Plus 25? What do you think it is? What do you think it is? Plus 25? Do you have an idea?
It's either 25 or 37.
Either 25 or 37. So here, check this out. So someone does this experiment, okay? And they do this again and again with lots and lots of people, and they just keep doing it over and over again, right? Well, it turns out that the face is the one in the middle, okay? So Jeff, go back. Can you, oh wait, hang on. Bro, no, I got it. If you saw this image with that word, and don't even focus on the word, they just put the word on there. If you saw that image with that word, you're more likely to see one of these faces down here. And if you saw that face with this word, you're more likely to see one of the images down here. Okay? Because somehow ignorant, and this is why it's really good to have the two of you here, right? Somehow ignorant is easier in our minds and in our subconscious it's just more easy to associate ignorant with Musa's face than it is to associate ignorant with Michael's face. And somehow it's easier to associate educated with Michael's face than it is with Musa's face. Now look, here's the thing. Not every time, not with every person, but with enough. Here, you ready? With enough that he is going to have experiences is more likely to have experiences, much more likely actually, to have experiences that are detrimental to his trajectory forward than he is. So now, if Musa shows up in class next week and says, hey, can I have a microphone? Hey, I had this experience downtown, and I just want to tell you I experienced racism, and here's what happened. It's like, it doesn't mean he experienced racism. Because we don't know. What about this, and what about that, and did you control for this, did you control for that? Like, we don't know that. But we do know that on average, Americans are more likely to associate educated with lighter skin and ignorant with darker skin. Not just white Americans, but black and brown Americans also. So what does it mean for Musa when he walks across the stage at Penn State and gets his diploma and goes out into the job market and he is competing for the same jobs along with Michael? What's it mean? Dude, what's it mean? Hang on, let me ask you. What's it mean for you? Like, how is that for you? Like, to see that sort of thing?
I mean, like, just both of us sitting up here, at least, like, two of us in this case, like, we both, like, looked right for the center one. At least for me, like, I grew up in Louisiana, and Texas and Louisiana, and I went to an almost all African-American school. So I guess I kind of have a little bit of a different perspective. I mean, like, I definitely see how, like people, like, with their experiences, like, go one way or the other. At least for me, like, I've been on both sides, so I kind of see it. I actually had to move elementary schools when I was a kid, so, I mean, like, I'm not really affected by, like, color at all.
So, but how is it so how is it for you, though, knowing that you get your diploma, right, at Penn State, and you got this little slight advantage for you? And again, it's not so, because in the end, what matters most, you need to know this. The thing that is going to matter most is their experience, right? And the things that they've done. That's going to matter the most. These sorts of things come in second and third. But how is it to know that when you get that diploma, you got this other thing going on for you that's called, like, the pale skin, right? Like, I mean, just how is that? Like, just a thought. Like, how often do you think about it? Do you, like...
Yeah, I mean, like, it's definitely, like, it's always in the back. Like, it's definitely, like, unfortunate that like, happens, like, on the other side. Like, I guess I can't really say that would be my first thought when I get a diploma. I'm kind of more thinking, like, I don't have to sit in, no offense, but Soc class anymore. That's, like, the first thing. I'm a math major, so.
Yeah.
But, like, But like I'm kind of more focused on like not going. At least like for me, like that's not really what's in my mind. But I mean, like if I'm specifically thinking about that, I mean, obviously it's unfortunate that that happens to other people. And like I said, like I've been on both sides of it. Luckily, my side was more when I was younger, not when like it's more of like an actual like life-changing like issue. So it's unfortunate, but it's not really something I think about.
So one of the things is that, yeah, cool. Thanks, man. Thanks for saying that. So one of the things is like what Michael just said is really, really important, right? Hey, I'm a math major. I don't really think about this a lot. I've had some experiences, so I get some stuff, but I don't think about it a lot. But it's happening in the background. So, Musa, how is it for you, man? Knowing that, your degree, well, it's fine. It's a Penn State degree. It's all good. And, there's a little tiny piece there that, I don't know.
I mean, there's definitely some doubt in my mind that after I graduate, I probably won't just be handed a job or like offered a job off rip just because of how I look. But at the same time, like me being black, it forces me to like work harder than like Mike right here because I have to maneuver in a way to prove myself that, yeah, I'm worthy enough. So like I have to work like 10 times harder and do so much more than he has to do in life for me to just be at the level that he's at right after he graduates from college.
So there are two things I want to say here, right? Mm-hmm. Just the way we say things.
Okay.
So you probably don't have to work 10 times harder.
I mean, it was just a...
I know it's a figure of speech, right? But I want to be clear. Also, the other side is he might as a math major, but it's like, it's not that you won't be handed a job, but it's just that, I'm just going to give you a different way to say it that actually I feel like can really more likely to be heard by people, or this is the way I would say it, okay, if I were you. Listen, if I'm Musa, it's not that I'm not going to get a job. It's not that this is going to be a big obstacle, but I know it's going to come into play. It's going to come into play, and I know I'm going to have to manage it somehow. Okay. And so, I got to manage that. But you didn't hear him say, so I expect something to be given to me. You said, I'm going to have to work harder.
Yeah.
You got that? Hey, you got that? He didn't say, so therefore somebody owes me something. What he said was, I'm going to have to work harder. By the way, let me just say, of all the ancestry groups in the United States, black men are the most likely to believe that when they screw up, it's their own fault. And if they want to get ahead, they're going to have to work harder than everybody else, more than anybody else. So just want to say that. Dude, thanks, man.
Of course.
All right. Thanks, man.